we got some Starfield information today. And I'm starting something new. We get some new information on the Xbox game. We're going to dissect that stuff. Welcome to White Glove Addicts, where we go over all the information regarding video games in the Xbox cam. Starfield is no exception. So, let's get into this. First things first, Starfield has officially went gold. Now, for those of you that follow me on Twitter, I'm sure you've seen a lot of people talk about whether or not Starfield not going gold a few weeks back is a bad thing. Now, I don't think that was an issue. I've never thought games going gold or not going gold has been an issue. But what I do want to point out is that sometimes I prefer them to take more time to make sure this game functions the way it's supposed to than to rush it out for certifications and make sure the game doesn't function. Because, you know, there's like a misconception on how like certification works. Doesn't necessarily mean the game is going to run flawlessly. It just means it's going to run and not break anything. And then on top of that, we had all these PlayStation fanboys sitting there like spraying the salt. And we all know what it's coming from. It's because they ain't getting the game. They were upset. Where is the gold? Why hasn't Starfield went gold? Well, PlayStation people, it has. Then, on top of that, we got some more information. You know, let's pop over here to Twitter. Colobro, you guys know this individual. New info on Starfield. Now, I will post where all this information came from, but I love Colobro because he put it all in nice little bulletin points for us. First off, there's housing in all major cities the player can get. Some you have to purchase, and some will be rewards for specific quests. People who play Bethesda games, this should not surprise nobody. Through all of Bethesda games, there's been some form of housing system that's in the games that you are able to get your hands on, like, you know, through buying them or through a specific quest. I remember in Skyrim, they did kind of a combination of both of these. So that's a given at this point. Number 2, if you commit a crime, you can elect to go to jail or pay a fine. And when you're arrested or even resist arrest and try to escape, there's a civilization, there's government, and there are laws. So I think pretty much what he's saying here is they're going back a little bit to their older roots. Now, in the Fallout franchise, they couldn't really captivate on this too much because the majority of Fallout's not really governed. But, you know, on here, if you get in trouble with the law, you going to jail or you paying a fine. Now, I'm kind of curious if there's going to be like something going on in jail where when you go to jail, is it going to be you just go to sleep, or is there going to be something that you have to do? Do you have to spend a couple days in jail? I'm just curious on if the jails from galaxy to galaxy and from civilization to civilization are going to be different, or are they just going to like have one thing and they wrap it and it's just everyone? I don't know. We'll see about that. Number 3, certain items are considered contraband, and when you need to smuggle them past security ships, they are in orbit of major settlements. You can hide them with a security a special ship module. Now, we've never really had anything like this in the Bethesda games, to my knowledge, because we've never really went from one to the other. Now, I do know that certain things you would have, like, the thing I could think of, and they didn't even do it, but I'm seeing more of like on a huge, way bigger scale of like Fallout New Vegas, when you can buy the weapons at the casinos to sneak them in past security. Now, obviously, it's nothing like that, but I do see something similar to that. So I think that's pretty good. Contraband's going to be a big thing. I think that you're going to be able to, especially being a space pirate, that they've been very vocal is a huge part, and you can take upon that faction. I think this contraband one's going to be a lot bigger than, the developers that answer these Q&As are letting on to be. Now, here's the next one. All the playable factions can be completely independent. Can be completed independently. So I think I don't know if that is what they're meaning, where you are with them and you can complete the whole thing without interacting. Maybe I should have read a little bit more into that one particular. But what I would expect that is where you can complete all the individual ones and it doesn't really affect the others. Now, I actually, if it is this way, I'm actually a little bit disappointed with that. But you'll put in the comment section below if you guys know, exactly what they're going into. I hope that there's more faction interaction in this game, where if you join one, the other ones hate you, and you can't really just keep jumping from faction to faction. I want Starfield to be one of those things where you put that T on it, you got to stick with that faction, or you can do another faction that is aligned with that faction. But I don't want like you picking like a police faction or something like that and you are with the pirates at the same time. Like, I feel like that's contradictory, and we need to like pull back on that a little bit. Make some of these players stick that flag in the ground. Make sure that they know if you pick one of these, that's a wrap. That's all you can get. I don't know if that's what they mean, but we're going to go into that later. There are over 20 named characters who can join your crew. All of them have their own backgrounds, strengths, weaknesses, and stories. Companions have a huge role in the game, part of the main story. This is big. I've always liked the companions for, Bethesda games. I've always leaned more towards BioWare and how they did companions. And I even like how, Obsidian did companions in The Outer Worlds and Fallout New Vegas. I want this to be a huge focus. It's like factions and companions is one of the things that I really enjoy from these type of RPGs. And I think that, if Starfield really captivates it and makes these their own, we can actually have a really good experience. The fact that companions have a huge role in the game and they're part of the main story, I'm curious if all of them have a huge role in the main story, or maybe it's just a couple that you run into along the way. Maybe, they have their own individual things, their own individual stories and narratives, but the longer you have them, the more intertwined they are with the main story. So I'm kind of curious what they mean by that. I think this is good info, because if there's anything this shows me is that Bethesda is going a little bit more back to root when it comes to how they make RPGs. Because I feel like the past couple games they've made, they've casualized a lot of the hardcore mechanics, and I think this shows me a little bit. Now I got to see a little bit more, and I got to play it to know if they're going back with more of a traditional point system. That's what I like about the old Bethesda games, is like you can put points in certain skills. I really like the way Obsidian did The Outer Worlds. I didn't like the way Fallout 4 did their RPG system. I felt like it was a very lacking RPG. I think this game's going to do better in dialogue and RPG mechanics, and I think it's going to do better when it comes to the companions. I feel like they're really going to focus on these companions. I really do. Here's the thing, guys. I think Starfield is going to be that game that people play for years upon years going forward. I think this is going to be the new wave. It's just how much of a wave it's going to be. And I think there's a lot of variables that go into that. Obviously one of them is how functional is the game? Is it going to break? Is there game-breaking bugs in it? And it can't really have many of those, if any, in the game. Now, the game could come out, be funny buggy. But it can't come out, it can't mess with your save points, and it can't get you to a point where you're like soft locked in the game and you got to reset. Any bug that makes you reset that game is the bugs that need to be addressed before the game comes out. Because if you got something that you just maybe lose 5-10 minutes, people be annoyed, but they'll get back on if the game's good enough. But if you make people lose 20-30 hours of a gameplay because they can't do nothing with the save anymore, that's when people drop games. That's when the the buggy funny thing goes too much. But when you put in the comment section below, what here was really enticing to you? What here do you guys think is the most prominent feature that they announced today that's on Twitter? Like I said, I'm gonna put in the description a show, because there's an individual on Twitter that actually screenshotted all the questions. I read through the majority of them. It just that the factual one kind of eluded me. I don't exactly know what they mean by that. So, I told you guys all the scenarios I possibly think. It's like I said, put in the comment section below if you guys know what they mean by that. But appreciate all the love you guys give. And, until next time, this is Gaming Addict. I'm out of here. Peace. I will be making another Starfield video. So definitely like this video if you enjoyed it and sub to the channel because that video is coming soon.